All right, I'm calling the meeting to order, and so let's start with roll call today. I'm
Okay,
Simon T, Chair for the Civil Service Commission, City Time Order.
Blake Chard, Commission Member.
Julianne McGarva, Secretary Chief Examiner.
John Wicks, Chief of Police.
Brian Hurley, Fire Chief.
All right, thank you, everyone. Will we have any, is there any proposal for any change on the agenda, or is everybody okay with the agenda as presented?
I'm okay.
All right. Thank you. Let's go to approval of minutes. Approval of the March 9, 2023 minutes. I looked at it. I don't have any comments or questions. Commissioner Chart, do you have any questions, comments?
I don't, and I would move that we approve them as written.
And I second the motion. And those who support the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the minutes for the March 9, 2023 is officially adopted. We'll go to the next item, which is the status of eligibility list. Julian, you want to?
Sure. Yes, so in regards to the civil service eligibility list, we really don't have any changes. We have the paramedic list is an active continuous paramedic. Medic one has been doing regular about every 2-3 months. They have been opening up and doing applications for the entry-level paramedic. So that one's active continuous. And we have everything else is pretty much the same. No changes.
All right. Any question, comments, Commissioner Chart?
Nope.
All right, great. In that case, we'll move to the next item. Number 6, which is approval of Fire Prevention Officer 2 examination plan. Julian, you want to give us a briefing on that?
Sure. Basically, we currently have a Fire Prevention Officer 1 and a Fire Prevention Officer 2. The Officer 2 is a new position, new classification, and it was brought to the board a couple of months ago, and you guys approved it. What we have at this point is we have, and I'll let Brian talk a little bit about it. We have our Fire Prevention Officer 1 has taken all of the certifications that are required. And so we would like to open it up as an in-house promotional exam plan. We have the first phase is basically the applicants interested in the position would submit. The second phase, there would be qualifications would be reviewed, and an oral board would take place. If there is only one applicant for the position and the applicant's qualifications will be reviewed, and if they're qualified, then they would just be moved into the position.
Into the position.
Brian, you want to talk about it a little bit?
I mean,
Sure. What was there a question?
Did you mean if there's one candidate that's qualified, it will be moved to be on a list, or to be automatically be hired for that position?
Brian, wouldn't they actually be hired? Isn't that what we did before? We would only have a list if we had more than one
Correct.
applicant that was qualified.
That was my understanding as well. Yeah.
I read it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I read it as if you only had one, it would automatically go to a chief's interview.
Yeah, if they were qualified, they would come to the chief's interview. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Just a bit more background. This isn't an additional position right now. It would be the case of our current Fire Prevention Officer 1 having an opportunity to apply for this position, because through our collective bargaining process and this last time this position was created and put into the contract, we came up with the requirements which the commission saw a couple months ago. and it really expands our capabilities. The fire prevention officer does primarily fire code inspections, but we're really going to expand into public education more, and that's what this position will bring.
So,
And you're right, Blake. You're right. The way that it read is, you're right, that one person would just be on the list. Would the commission want us to bring that, if that ended up being the situation, would the commission want us to bring that list back for approval?
I think I mean, if someone on the list, do you need, I think that's the standard procedure that you still will be required to actually present to the commissioner for approval of the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could bring it back, if that ended up being the situation, we could bring it back probably in May.
Okay. Great. Any other question or comments, Commissioner Char?
No, not at this time. I understand you said we're going to bring back this proposal next meeting.
So if you approve the exam plan as it is, we'll open up the applications. What we would bring back is either a list that has multiple people on it, or if there is only one qualified applicant, a list that just has the one applicant.
So essentially, if you, right now, our decision is to whether or not we approve the exam plan as presented. If you agree with the description, the one we just discussed, how we're going to approach an eligible list, well, I will entertain a motion to support this examination plan for Fire Prevention Officer 2.
I'm trying to contemplate the purpose of the commission reviewing a one-person list.
Yeah, I think the purpose of an application or exam plan like this is that if we have more than one applicant and they're qualified, then we have to go through the oral board procedure. And so then they would, yeah, where before, and then they would be ranked, and then it would go to the commission, and then the chief could interview from the top candidates. Whereas this is basically saying that if there's only one candidate and they're qualified, that oral board procedure doesn't have to happen. It can just go to the fire chief after the commission approves it. It can just go to the fire chief for the final interview.
So if it gets past the chief's interview, you would put a list together with the one name.
No, we would have the list, but we wouldn't have to do an oral board to get that list. We wouldn't have to pull together a panel to meet with one person.
But the list isn't made until whatever interview you're going to do, right? Either the oral boards and or the chief's interview, right? If he
Usually
doesn't,
the list usually always comes to the commission prior to the chief interviews. Because the commission has to approve the list, and then the next step is the chief can interview off of that list. Am I right, Brian?
Yeah, I think in general, there are circumstances though where the examiner has the, can approve those, I can't remember, subjective to, final approval so that we can interview some of those candidates before the list comes out. But I don't think that would be the case here. I would see once the list is created, it could come to the commission, and then, I can do a final interview and recommend an appointment.
So I think correct me, I think that I can clarify this a little bit to see if I understand the way so regardless of how many candidates on the list, the oral board, the candidate, whether it's one candidate or three candidates, will be, in order to be selected, will have to go before the oral board, right? Am I correct or not?
I believe that there's only one candidate, we wouldn't have to hold.
can
the
skip the
oral
oral
board. We could just skip the oral board, approve the list, and then have the chiefs interview. If we have multiple candidates, we just have to have that step of the oral board. Yeah.
Okay, if that's the case, it might be good to clarify that in the exam plan because that's not quite clear in there.
Well, I
think
think that's what it's meant when it says if there's more than one candidate meeting the minimum qualifications for the position, all candidates will be scheduled for an oral board examination. Those passing the oral board will be ranked on the eligible list for hire. But up above, it says if there is only one applicant for this position and the applicant's qualification reviewed and if qualified will be proposed as the sole candidate for the eligibility list.
I'm good with that.
It's a sole candidate for eligible list. So the oral board is actually to determine whether or not a candidate need to get on the eligible list. It's not for hiring.
The oral board
It's not for
primarily,
hire.
yeah, the
Yeah.
oral board would be primarily for ranking the candidates if we had multiple
Correct.
candidates.
For
Yeah,
ranking and then for putting on the eligible list. So if there's only one candidate, you can skip the oral board and it will be automatically on the list.
correct.
Right, because there's only one
Okay,
rank.
got
Yeah.
it. It's just not quite. I mean, the way you explain it makes sense, but then the way you read it, it's kind of like it's not quite obvious.
And I
I
think I
wonder what-
confused it a little bit the way I first initially said it too.
It might be good to kind of describe that, point it out. There's one candidate, oral board is not needed. It's not stated in there. If you can just say that if there's one candidate eligible, eligible candidate, there's no need for oral board. I think that would help to clarify a little bit. Is that
Would you like me to do that before you vote on whether or not this exam plan is okay?
we can vote as if with the condition that be clarified, be included, or we can wait until you have make that what they call that clarification or just revision to vote. I would say for timing purposes, if in order to not hold this up, we can propose to move this forward with the condition that change be made. Does that sound good, Commissioner Char?
Yes,
Okay. So would you like to, I would propose that, to move the examination plan forward with a condition that clarification be included. To say that, if there's one candidate, oral board is not necessary. It will be automatically be on a list, eligible list.
Will do.
Do I get a second on the motion?
second,
All right, those who support the motion as described, say aye.
aye.
Aye, so motion adopted. Thank you. Let's move to item number 7. Approval of continuous entry paramedic list. Julian?
Yes, so at the end of March, during the month of March, they opened up at Thurston County the paramedic, entry-level paramedic. They did all of their testing and they provided us the current list. All 3 of these people, one of them has been on our list before and he's continuing to be on the Thurston County list. But all 3 of these were on the list. The way we rank them is by their public safety score that they received. So these are the 3 that passed the latest Thurston County. You can see down below, we had 3 of them be removed. A couple were hired by other agencies and one did not pass the chief's interview for us. So we're looking for approval of this list so that we can continue on with the entry-level paramedic.
All right, any question, Commissioner?
Nope,
I don't have either. Any motion?
I'll move that we approve the list as presented.
Well, I second the motion. Those who support the firefighter paramedic list are presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so the motion's adopted and so thank you, and let's go to item number 8.
For the next meeting, I am actually going to be on vacation. I had a pre-scheduled vacation from about 9 months ago. So I was wondering if you, instead of being on the 11th, if you'd be available on May 18th to change our meeting to that date.
So it would be the Thursday after that
Right.
original date. Okay. I think I'm okay. Give me 1 minute. I'm looking at my calendar real quick here. Is that okay for you, Commissioner Chark?
It is.
May the 18th. Let me see. Yeah, that works for me too. Yes, that works for me too. So we can just move that next meeting to May 18.
Great, thank you.
Any other update? You all like to,
Go ahead, Brian.
Commissioner Brian?
Just briefly, update from the fire department. Most significant thing coming up is we have our fire lieutenant testing plan that we're executing, and we'll have an assessment center on May 19th for that. So at some point very soon after that, hopefully we'll be coming back to you with a list for consideration for both fire lieutenant and paramedic lieutenant. And we've been notified by one of our paramedics that he is potentially going to retire by the 1st of July as well. So be having another position to be looking at. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Chief.
From the
Chief,
from the police department, we completed the police service specialist 1 testing yesterday. Once the appeal period's over, we'll be bringing that eligibility list back to you in May. And then hopefully hire from there. Our officer that's in the field training program is completing the 2nd phase and is doing very well. So he'll move into the 3rd and final phase. And hopefully by sometime towards the end of May, we'll be releasing him onto solo duty and actually taking a spot in the schedule. So we're looking forward to that. And then the last thing I have is one of our officers, Officer Friedrich Jaeger, is resigning tomorrow. He's moving across the country to the east side to chase his dream of opening his own business. So we wish him the very best. So we'll be back down 1 person, but we do have 1 person in background. And our background investigator is flying to Texas next week to do the background. So that's all I have.
great, thank you, Chief Wicks. Any other business or issue to discuss for the good order or the order before we adjourn? Anyone?
I have not.
Nothing. All right. If none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I move we adjourn.
I second the motion, and thank you all. Our meeting is adjourned, and have a great evening, everyone. See you on May 18th, I suppose.
All right, good night.
Good night.